Welcome back to the channel. Star Wars The Force Unleashed, a once-canon game chronicling the untold story of Darth Vader's secret apprentice. It was a game praised for its groundbreaking physics engine and next-gen graphics when it was released back in 2008, and even spawned a not nearly as good sequel. Of course, I'm referring to the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC versions of the game. Yes, in case you weren't aware, there was another completely different port of the game. A port with different graphics, different gameplay completely, more levels, and even different voice acting. This is where the PlayStation 2, PSP, and Wii versions of the game come in. These versions were gutted and completely remade in order to run on their respective hardware. I grew up playing and loving the PlayStation 2 edition, and if I may be opinionated, this version of the game, the quote-unquote last-gen version of the game, is the superior edition. It was easier to master, ran smoother, had a central hub to change appearances or upgrade force abilities, and was able to be replayed over and over again in order to grind and upgrade your character's Starkiller's abilities further. The Wii version of the game also had a two-player dual mode, which I enjoyed playing with my friend who owned the game for that console. Fast forward to April 2022, and Nintendo decided to port this exact version of the game to their flagship system, the Nintendo Switch. So now we must once again find ourselves answering the question, is Star Wars The Force Unleashed worth it for the Nintendo Switch? The Switch port of the game is the previous gen console edition. Being a Nintendo console, one may first assume that this is just a port of the Wii version of the game. The Wii version made use of motion controls strictly, meaning that unleashing combo attacks and basic controls were used by waggling the Wii remote around. And while this is partly true for the Switch version, you can use those exact same motion controls you grew up memorizing and mastering in this port, but you can also leave those Joy-Cons holstered to the sides of the console and play the game the way those who grew up with the PlayStation ports mastered, using the Joy-Cons or my preferred method of the Pro Controller. One note on this is while the Pro Controller does in fact have a gyroscope inside, it cannot be used to play the game with motion controls. And while this makes the QuickTime events that occur during every boss battle a little frustrating on your first playthrough, what I mean is the button layout on a Switch controller is completely different than a PS2 controller. X is here on a Switch and here on a PS2 controller. Anyway, while this layout may make these moments frustrating, after a bit of practice and time, these become a cinch to get through. This port includes the two-player dual mode, which is a welcome addition to someone who grew up without this game mode. This mode can be played with or without motion controls, which is pretty cool and has a vast array of characters to play as, spanning the first 6 Star Wars movies, as well as Mara Jade, who I believe is only in comics and books, of which are no longer canon. The graphics in this port are the same as they would be on the PlayStation 2 or Wii, however they have been upscaled into True HD so this version looks better than it ever has. The graphics compared to the PSP port are the only exception where I would say they're better. I own this version and while it's the same as the home console versions gameplay-wise, graphically this boy is a struggling, so the ability to play this version of the game on the go and have it both run smoothly and look passable is a big plus in my eyes. So all that's left is to answer the question, is Star Wars The Force Unleashed for the Nintendo Switch worth buying? Obviously, yes. It's the version of the game that has the most replayability, it runs smoothly, and it included the fun two-player dual mode that was absent from the PS2 and PSP ports. In conclusion, I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Is It Worth It? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.